Monday, April 18th. Roll call.
Mayor Calvin,
Here.
Councilmember Fagerly, Osmus. Here. Butterfield.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Osk.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Plowman.
Here.
Nelson. Here. 8 present, 1 absent.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. I'm going to respectfully ask that number 12 be moved forward on the agenda to follow item number 9. Other than that, are there any other proposed additions or deletions to the agenda as presented? Seeing and hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the presented agenda with one change. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion does carry. Next, we have consent items. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, on tonight's consent agenda, we have for council's approval the City Council minutes of April 4th, the Wilmer Municipal Utilities Commission minutes of April 11th, Planning Commission minutes of March 2nd, an application for exempt permit from Wilmer Hockey Association, the accounts payable report for March 31 through April 13th, a resolution for consideration of Adopt a Park program, and for council's acceptance, the building report for the month of March 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the consent items. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Is there anybody for public forum?
No, there's no one that signed up.
Next, we have Patty Hemmenover here from Baker Tilly, and she's going to talk to us about the City Operations Director interview process. Ms. Hemmenover.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to talk about the position of City Operations Director. We advertised it also as the Assistant City Administrator position, and the reason for that is that's a more common name out there, and so we did the dual names when we advertised the position. So if anybody is asking, is this two positions? No, it's one position with 2 different titles that we had, just for clarification. To talk a little bit about the process and where we are and how we got here tonight. We were hired, Baker Tilly, to do the search for you, and we went out for a national search. We ended up very, very, very pleased with the candidates that we received. We received over 32 candidates for the position. We did have a couple that withdrew, and that is common during a process. From there, we had the candidates that we felt were qualified, that met the criteria that we put out in the brochure. We gave them a questionnaire. We gave them also a due diligence report to fill out, which talks a little bit about what their salary expectations are, and then also anything that, if they've had any separations, any of that we would like to know ahead. We also had them do a video, and then from there, we narrowed those candidates down to a handful for the city administrator, the HR director, and myself to go through, and we narrowed the candidates down to 4 to be asked to come in for an interview. From there, we interviewed, and then we narrowed it down. We also had staff, interaction with staff, and then we narrowed it down to 2 candidates, and tonight, the candidates had an opportunity to do like just a greet with council, and they are here to be asked some questions. And then what's going to happen is Leslie will be making a decision by the end of the week. We have the criminal background check and references that we're conducting, and they will be given to Leslie tomorrow. for part of the process. So I would like to introduce the first candidate, and that is Dan. Would you come up?
I feel like I'm being sworn in.
So Dan, if we could just start out and introduce yourself and a little bit about who you are and why you're interested in this position. And then I just have a few other questions to ask you, and then we'll follow it up to see if any of the council member has questions. And we're only looking at about 15 minutes.
You're telling me to be short is what you're saying.
Yes, please.
No, thank you. And as an aside, she has been phenomenal to work with and the staff. So thank you for rolling out the red carpet for this. My name is Dan Coughlin. I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce my better half. Laura is here. I'll tell you some of the things that you can't ask, but maybe you're interested in. We have three kids. My son, who just got out of the Air Force and works down in Texas. My oldest daughter, who works in the Twin Cities as an operations manager at University of Northwestern St. Paul. And my youngest is graduating from Bold in Olivia this spring, which makes us almost empty nesters, which is scaring the daylights out of us. I got into public sector kicking and screaming. I actually started out my career as a therapist in a locked psych unit for adolescents. And that's what I thought my trajectory was for my plan of career. And HMOs had a different plan for that. And so most of the inpatient programs actually evaporated just as I was starting my career. And so ended up having just been married, had to put food on the table, a roof over her head. And so a friend of mine from college said they were starting a construction company. Could you help for a couple of weeks? We've got some decks to build and some other things. 10 years later, I was the vice president of the company, grew it to a multi-million-dollar company in the Twin Cities. It's still in existence today. And then I got, as I said, kicking and screaming. Part of it is that we had a road project in our community that the project itself was okay, but the communication wasn't great, and it caused a lot of problems. So behind the scenes, people were all, let's fight City Hall, let's sue them. My uncle is an attorney. We can everybody chip in $10 in a hat, and we'll sue. And I said, that's not how you play that game. You don't win by putting people on the defensive. Let's win by communicating. Let's be better than this. I said, let's go, and we put on our suits and our ties. And if the mayor gives you 3 minutes to speak at the open forum, then you take 2 and you give them back 1, and we're going to have a conversation. We're not going to have a fight. 18 months later was we won that fight. We beat City Hall on a 3-2 vote. And the mayor immediately appointed me to a commission to talk about how we can redo the street programs so that it's more engaging with the public. One of the council members that actually voted against us on that showed up at my doorstep early on a Saturday morning and said, the mayor has just had a stroke. He's not going to run for re-election. I want you to run for mayor. And I said 2 things. One was, how bad off are you that this 30-year-old is on your short list? And aren't you the guy that voted against us? Why are you asking? He says, well, I was a patrol officer for 27 years, and I've been on the council for 8, and I've never seen anybody do what you just did. He says, I don't have to agree with you to respect you. And so he kind of recruited me into the realm and served a term as mayor in Mounds View, which is a first-ring suburb of the Twin Cities. And in the middle of that, had a fantastic administrator that I said, well, I'm kind of intrigued by your job. I've done management and stuff most of my adult life. I said, how do I get your job? And he goes, it's full, so you can't take my job. But he said, no, if you're interested, go to Hamlin University. He says they've got one of the premier programs for public administration. If you're really serious about it, I'll even be a sponsor to get you in the cohort. My own city administrator ended up signing the paperwork to get me into into that role, and have been in this ever since. The reason that this particular position really stood out, other than the fact that I'm a local and I go to church here, I doctor here, we buy most of our stuff here. Hopefully nobody in the city of Olivia is watching this right now. Whether when I was in Richmond or here, Wilmer was always a center of gravity. This is home. And as I told the mayor earlier, this entire region rises or falls based on the success or lack thereof of this community. And so with that, Leslie has got a fantastic reputation, been for many years, not only in her immediate previous position, but the last couple, and intrigued me once I met with her and she shared a little bit of her vision. I couldn't let it go. And I've had other opportunities that I've set aside because this one intrigues me. This one actually fires me up, that I can hopefully leverage some of the stuff that I'm bringing to the table that can be an assistant to her, so she can be freed up to do the things you hired her to do, and then do some behind the scenes grunt work to be able to move things to the next level, because Wilmer's great. It could be even greater.
We're going to need to share microphones. So
Okay.
I'm going to ask the next question. Wilmer is currently updating and implementing new software for all the major city functions for the department needs. How familiar are you with technology?
Well, the computers that I have at home, I built myself. I am a self-professed nerd. Before there was the internet, I was on it. I was actually helped co-teach our first computer class in high school, because they said, well, computers are kind of like calculators, so we'll give the math teacher these computers and he'll teach it. And he didn't really know much about computers. I feel like an old timer, like back in the day. But it really came into its own, and I had already built my own computer and had computers at home a couple of years before they even hit the schools out in west central Wisconsin, where I grew up on a farm. And so I've been not necessarily bleeding edge, but certainly adopting cutting edge stuff, and very familiar with and comfortable with technology, both hardware and software.
As you are aware, Wilmer is working on building a new city hall. The city operations director will need to manage portions of the project along with the planning director and the city administrator. Therefore, what is your experience in working on a city hall project?
Well, we're working on one right now in Olivia. It's been in the mix for a while, and I understand that that's not unusual. I've done project management, certainly when I was a contractor, licensed builder and remodeler. Did an awful lot of working with primaries and subs and things like that, and managing things with architects and engineers if need be. So in terms of City Hall project, I'm working on one in general. I've done a couple of wastewater projects, a couple of water treatment plant projects, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars worth of road and underground improvements over the years, airport updates, EDA properties, both residential and commercial. I guess I've been fated for good or not as a project manager to spearhead stuff. The big thing, as I shared in our informal time, is communication needs to be fantastic at the beginning, needs to be fantastic in the middle, and needs to be fantastic at the end. And the rest of it, we just work the problem. Because whether it's a big project or a little project, making sure everybody's on the same page works. And that's where I think my background can help free Leslie up quite a bit, is not have to worry about some of this stuff other than to just, tell me what to do, and I'll try and get it done. And as I've shared with you previously, my goal is I don't have a lot of ego in this. I'm not a ladder climber. This is not a one more notch on my resume belt. This is the area that we've settled in, that my wife and I have raised our kids in, and we want to stay here. I said I got 2 more stops, Lord willing, in terms of homes. One is the nursing home, the other is the funeral home. So, the goal would be is to let's just get the job done and make sure that things are working. So we work the problems, and when things come up, I am somebody that can be relied on to be a problem solver, and not stand in anybody else's limelight. Not the goal here is not to outshine anybody. It's just to get the job done.
Growth in population also comes with its own set of challenges. What do you see as the biggest challenge Wilmer will face, and what are the solutions you would recommend?
Well, population increase is always a double-edged sword. Any community that's losing population would give their right arm to have growth instead of shrinkage. But everything from infrastructure, I mean, it's okay if you got people moving in, they need places to stay, they need places to do. You have to, you can't roll the sidewalk up at 4:30 in the afternoon. They're looking for activities. It's a multifaceted dynamic. And not everybody is going to be a pudgy, overweight 50-year-old that looks like me. And so you need to make sure that recognize that diversity is a fact, not a goal, and that we celebrate it because, as I tongue-in-cheek say, is that we're all unique, just like everybody else. So recognizing that God painted us different and wired us different. And those things, as far as I know, I didn't have any say over who were my parents or where I was born or what era I was born in. And I know the same is of everybody in this room and everybody in this community. And so recognizing that we're all cousins, if you go back far enough, is that we get beyond our superficial differences and pull together as a community. And that requires communication. You'll hear this as a theme, that it's, most everything gets solved by good, open, honest communication. Whether it's a superior and a subordinate, or a city council and a staffer, or it's having a conversation at the coffee shop, is the golden rule needs to be applied, and we need to recognize that we're all here for a reason, and that we all care about our future. We all care about our children and things. And so in terms of population stuff, is celebrate all of it. You're going to need everything from water lines and sewer lift stations to housing to recreational activities, and then have outreach to those folks that are moving in, is to make sure that it's a welcoming community, because that word of mouth helps build on itself.
Mayor, those were the questions that we had prepared. We do have just a couple minutes. We don't know if we wanted to turn it over to see if you guys had any questions before we wrap it up.
Okay, Council, any questions for Dan? Dan, I want to thank you for applying for the position. I believe in conversations earlier this afternoon and evening with Leslie, our goal is to have a decision made by Friday. So I think you'll probably be hearing back from either Patty or Leslie in the next few days. And thank you and your bride for coming along and walking this journey with us today. You're making the decision very tough, and we're going to have our hands full. But we certainly
That was my intent.
Good. We're certainly looking forward to the next steps that the council and the administrator will make on moving this position forward. Again, thank you very much.
To even be at this level. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll have just a short period of time as we gather the next candidate. I believe he's here, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He's just
Okay.
right down. Come on up, Kyle.
Ms. Hemmenover, go ahead and proceed, please.
Kyle, what I shared with the council early on is I talked a little bit about the process, how we got to this point, and that we have 2 candidates that we wanted them to have an opportunity to talk with. One thing I did forget to mention with to the council is the one thing that I'm very pleased about is the 4 candidates that did come forward that we were interviewing were all local. They were within, and I want to be kind of careful because I don't want to give too much away, but they were all within driving distance of about an hour and a half, 2 hours, or closer to here. So everyone that we interviewed was local. So I have a set of questions, but before we will need to share the mic, so I am going to get kind of close to you once in a while. But the first question I do have is if you could talk a little bit about your professional career, and then briefly talk about why you're interested in this position.
And then, Patty, we have about 15 minutes, correct?
Yes, thank you. 15 minutes. Not just on that question, I meant for the whole thing.
Sounds good. Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you for this opportunity to come before you this evening. And like I said earlier, hopefully this is the first of many opportunities I get to speak and to speak with you. My name is Kyle Box. I am currently the city clerk for the city of Marshall. My career has developed tremendously, in my opinion, over the last 5 years. I've had the opportunity to be a part of a growing organization, to be a part of a organization that is progressive and forward-thinking, and it's really given me the opportunity to grow into what I want to do, what I want to continue to be as a professional, and that is in city government, city administration. So my professional goals have really led me to where I am at with this position, where I'm at standing before you this evening. And when I had the opportunity to look, or when this job was posted and had an opportunity to look at the brochure, I had mentioned that all of these things that were listed on the brochure are maybe things I'm already doing or things that I know I can do and want to be forward-thinking as well and provide my resources, my knowledge, and my determination to you and to the city of Wilmer. So I'm looking forward to this opportunity and happy to answer the next question.
The next question is, Wilmer is currently upgrading and also looking at implementing new software for all the major city functions into the department. What is your familiarity with technology? That was a mouthful.
That's a great question. Right now I get to, I'm lucky enough to oversee kind of the general maintenance, general software for the city that I work for, City of Marshall. That is the implementation with programs that we use at the staff level, as well as have been luckily fortunate enough to be a part of reviewing other software programs, whether it's codification software for our code book, for our charter, our agenda software meeting platforms, as well as looking at simplest things as email, Teams, Outlook, those types of solutions. It's what can we bring to the staff? What can we bring to the community to make things easier? How can we interact, be more efficient both within the community and within the workplace? So just different areas, different projects that I've been able to work on with technology, and it's something that I hold true to myself. I'm a firm believer in finding the most efficient way to do things, and usually technology is a helpful tool and a great resource to have in the workplace.
Wilmer is working on building a new city hall. The city operations director will need to manage a portion of this project along with the planning department and the city administrator. Therefore, what is your experience in working on a city hall project?
Another great question. I don't know how many people get the opportunity to say they've worked or been a part of a city hall project on the recent years, and fortunately and luckily enough for me, I have been. The city of Marshall recently completed a beautiful city hall building, a project that was well managed, a project that was full of input from consultants, from staff, from council, from community members, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of that. Portions that I was able to oversee on that project or provide input on was information technologies to the building, all of the audio-visual equipment, as well as being able to have a seat at the table when it came to discussing security, camera placements, door securities, and those types of things. So I had great partnerships, great partnerships with our consultants out of St. Paul on audio-visual for the building. That was a fantastic project to work on, and it was really, like I said earlier, really fortunate to be a part of that project. And with the new city hall being proposed to the city of Wilmer, I'm hoping that everything that I've learned and been a part of that project the last couple of years in Marshall, I can bring that knowledge, bring that expertise, and that guidance and to you all and to the staff in the community.
I have another question for you. You had an opportunity, both of you, to tour the city. So you had an opportunity to see some of the projects and the growth. Growth in population also comes with its own set of challenges. What do you see as the biggest challenge Wilmer will face, and what are solutions you would recommend?
When I was touring this afternoon, there's a lot going on. It's really exciting to see all of the projects that are happening throughout the community. I think that's a testament to the city council, and being forward thinking and being able to strategically plan these projects out now that they're coming to fruition. I think is a testament to what you've done here in Wilmer. One of the things that with growing populations is challenging. It's especially being maybe more part of a diverse population. And challenging, I don't mean it as a negative. It's an opportunity to make sure everyone has a seat at the table. I talked about this earlier, and it goes back to some equity training that we're doing currently. And one of the analogies that the presenter had used is being both, can you have diversity without equity? And the analogy that he used was, well, yeah, you can invite everybody to the table, or you can invite everybody to the party, but are you giving everybody the opportunity to dance? Are you asking everybody to dance? So I think with growing populations, changing communities, changing cultures, or having these cultures within the community of Wilmer, it's being able to create an opportunity for everyone to have a voice, making sure everyone is being heard, making sure all the community needs are being met. And I think that's ongoing, whether you have a slower growing population or a booming population like you have here. So that's one of the things that I advocate for especially with diversity, equity, and inclusion within the city is just to provide and make sure everyone within the community has that opportunity to be heard.
So those are the questions that we had for you. Mayor, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions that any of you have? Okay, Kyle, we have a real tough decision to make, and our understanding is that Ms. Valiant will be working on her selection to get in front of the council by the end of the week. Sure. And we currently have a meeting tentatively planned for Friday. And so I think you'll probably be hearing from staff and Baker Tilly within the next day or two, probably 3 at the most. And you'll be hearing something back. The council has a very tough decision in front of them, and to support the administrator in the process that she has gone through this. So we want to thank you for your application. We want to thank you for making the drive up, and we want to really thank you for all your positive comments about our community and about the good things happening. So with that, I'm going to see if Ms. Valiant has anything that she'd like to add.
No, I think that's great. That we do have a tough decision, and we appreciate your time. I mean, Kyle and Dan have been here 3 times now, and so we appreciate all the time and effort that they've put into this process also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Luann will, well, how can I talk about Baker Tilly if you're going to walk outside?
Sorry,
Patty,
Mayor.
Sorry,
Mayor.
I don't know how you do it. I mean, you are a rock star. You are a very, very talented lady. You've brought us good candidates. You've worked very well within our organization. You've listened to what we've wanted, and you continually make our decision difficult. So thank you for the work you do. Thank you to Baker Tilly as well. Make sure and tell your supervisors and everybody else that signs your check that you enjoy it. And we love working with you, but we would kind of like a little bit of a recess. We don't really want to see you back real soon, but if we have to, just know that from the mayor's office, I'm very pleased with the work that you've done. Your communication is outstanding. The way you do your work is very thorough and complete, and so thank you very much. And I don't know if council has anything to add, but with that, I would move to the next item on the agenda unless there's others that want to make a comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Debbie. You bet. And I know you'll be working with Leslie in the next few days to wrap this up, so.
Thank you.
Okay, next, I'm moving item number 12 up, consideration of Block 25 contamination cleanup grant application, committing local match and authorizing execution of agreements. Our city planner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. The item before you is the Block 25 contamination cleanup grant application. The developers of Block 25 are applying to the contamination cleanup grant to the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development deed. And there are two key requirements. One is that a local municipality is the applicant. And the second is that this local source pay 25% of the project cost. But in this case, the developers they've already met the matching funds, and they are going to be committing to it. The city is only acting as a fiscal host, like a conduit between the deed and the developers. So what we are asking tonight is that the council approve and adopt Block 25 contamination cleanup grant application, committing local match and authorizing contract signature. With that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, Councilmember Nelson will be abstaining from this discussion and abstaining from the vote. Council, what are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve staff's recommendation for the Block 25 contamination grant application, committing local match, and authorizing the execution of agreements. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien. Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson is abstaining. Osmus.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. I believe the developers here, thank you for the work that you're doing, and we look forward to getting moving, as I know you guys do as well, so.
Yeah, we're hoping to break ground here within the next week, so.
Perfect, great, thank you.
Permits to pick up.
All right, staff will work with you and get everything you need.
All right.
Thank you much. Next, we have consideration of early access agreement for unplatted portions of the Wilmer Industrial Park. Mr. Backman with the Kennewick County City of Wilmer EDC. Or maybe I should just say with the EDC. You like that spin a little bit, don't you?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Aaron Backman, EDC Executive Director. You have before you an early access agreement with the City of Wilmer. It is intended to allow Nexus 360 temporary access to the project property as described and depicted in Exhibit A for purposes of conducting studies to determine the feasibility of the proposed project. Such studies shall be conducted at the developer's expense and may include surveys, environmental site assessments, soil investigations, soil borings, etc. This agreement is really a right of entry agreement, so the developer can perform its due diligence. This agreement is intended to allow studies or investigations to be completed prior to the potential sale of city land. The agreement provides the city adequate protections from liability resulting from the developer's activities on site while the city still owns the property. Nothing permits the developer from undertaking invasive or destructive investigatory work in paved portions of any public right-of-ways. This agreement is valid for 60 days and it has been reviewed by City Attorney Robert Scott and City Administrator Leslie Valiant. My recommendation is to approve the early access agreement, and I've also attached a resolution for your consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Council, what are your wishes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the early access agreement for unplatted portion of the Wilmer Industrial Park. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Thank you, Aaron, for your work.
Thank you.
Another job well done. Next, we have consideration of staff direction to start the abatement process with Midwest Technology Campus. Our Planning and Development Director, Mr. Walker.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I think I left my. Nah, it doesn't matter. All right, so I had a little presentation. Yes, would I be able to open this? Or okay.
I don't believe that's ours. I think that's the county's.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah. So, I guess the agenda tonight says consideration to direct staff to look at the abatement process, but I think that was error. This is me making a recommendation on the abatement process after my findings and looking through, I guess, consulting with the county and then talking with the Midwest Technology Campus about what they're proposing and kind of like what I thought about it, and then like kind of going through the verification process, looking at the business subsidy policy and the tax abatement process, and then just kind of what that looked like, and then giving you guys my recommendation of like what it would be. And then tonight, if you guys accept my recommendation, the next meeting would be either the 2nd or the 16th, the 18th, would be to look at would be the public hearing, and then to approve kind of based on the public comments, things like that. So just want to give you guys clarity on what tonight is instead of directing staff to start the tax abatement process.
So basically, you're telling us this is an update that you prepared the documents, we've reviewed those documents, and you want to know if there's any questions that we have of you at this point.
Yep, correct.
Counselor, are there any questions that you have at this point? Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to put it in simple terms, what's the end game here? Is this a sunset plan, long-term? Is this a developmental plan? What's just sort of the gist of things?
Okay, yeah. So the Midwest Technology Campus is, I guess, technically south of like where we are, the former state hospital, and then redeveloping the entire site, kind of gradually, kind of getting it as a professional office technology park that's kind of been I would say like a pillar of innovative jobs and technology in the city of Wilmer, just kind of going forward, and has been over, I think, like since its inception as a project. And so they have received abatement in the past. There's still a current abatement going on. So I would say this is I would say like the pillar of a long-range partnership between the Midwest Technology Campus and the city of Wilmer, and I guess all the tax levying agencies in the county and the city.
If I may follow up. Okay, yeah, just to clarify, my question sort of stemmed from, is this going to be mostly addressing tax abatement that had happened in the past, or addressing tax abatement that may be, new tax abatement that may be happening in the future?
Okay, yes, sorry for that. Yeah, so this is a recommendation. So this is a recommendation on the tax abatement for granted new tax abatement over 10 years. That would be for the sum total amount of $133,000 roughly.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So I guess I thought like the presentation capability. I guess I just kind of wanted to just for the folks at home, just kind of let them know what tax abatement is. So tax abatement is a tool that has been granted to municipalities like through the state of Minnesota as a development tool, kind of in line with economic development, in line with TIF. Similarly to defer tax payments, to incentivize incentive projects that can be used to stimulate growth as far as jobs, people moving to an area, Really just kind of if the project meets the qualifications set forth by the state, then cities have the authority to defer tax payments and grant the abatement. And so with me today, I have the tax abatement policy, and I was just going to go over what those qualifications were, how Midwest met them, and then also the business subsidy policy, but it was just going to be real concise. So just what the uses would be, the approval criteria, and then what my recommendation would be. So that's it for you.
Okay.
All right. So, all right. So there's a list of, oh man, the mic does not like me tonight. All right. So there's just a list. So normally, like you would use tax abatement to redevelop blighted and underutilized areas, or this could be used for housing. But in this instance, this is used as, I think it kind of falls under like the catch-all term of general of commercial and industrial property of like redevelopment, and it's to increase the tax base of the city in order to ensure long-term ability of the city to provide adequate services for its residents, and while lessening the reliance on residential property taxes, and to retain local jobs, increase local job base, and provide diversity in the job base. I think those are several aspects that the Midwest Technology Campus easily fulfills. Then moving on to project approval criteria, and so these are just some basic things. So retaining jobs, retaining existing jobs, retaining, I guess, the vision of the comp plan, the land use plan, and all the things that it entails, as long as the tax abating, I guess the project that is asking for the tax abatement falls under that criteria and has met its past abatements and has shown good faith as far as a developer and working with the community, then the tax abatement is oftentimes approved. And so there's a long list of criteria, and I guess I kind of want to spare you guys. It's a couple pages here. But so you look at evaluating that on those grounds as far as what are the jobs going to be, what is this going to look like, has this been will this be beneficial for the city in the future? Does this make sense for our community? Is this something that we want to do? Is this competing with other people? It's just kind of those simple questions. And I guess just kind of upon my findings and kind of looking at the past abatement that they were granted and how they far exceeded their goals that they were kind of laid out to them as far as like what the jobs were going to be, the buildings that they were going to redevelop, the timeline that they were going to redevelop it in. The only thing they have outstanding now is just the capital improvement projects. And I guess like this is just for 3 new buildings on the Midwest Technology Campus. I know there's a lot of buildings out there, but there's still a couple that still need to be redone. And so I think that those are the ones that they're adding. And so that's the concise version of like what the criteria would be. And then I guess what my recommendation would be, I guess, so they were asking for 100% tax abatement over the 10 years, which would be abating the $133,000. I recommended just kind of paralleling it with the county's step-down gradual abatement, and that is because with the trajectory of the job market, and I think just what the labor market is going to look like in the future, I don't think there's any guarantee that jobs that are in Wilmer are actually physically located in Wilmer. I think there are several aspects, several instances where people may work in a place but do not live in a place, and I think just with the demanding flexibility from employees going forward, hybrid work will become more common. If people are able to work 3 days of a week in a place, maybe they live somewhere else. And I just think with the increasingness of that likelihood, that it didn't really make sense, since most of what we were given as far as like the number of employees that they were going to gain, and they were going to buy houses here, buy cars here, spend all of this in the community. It's not totally accurate, and I don't think it's something that you can take to the bank as far as all of those new employees will move to Wilmer, live in Wilmer, raise a family in Wilmer, and all those things. I think those are just due to the times and the world we're living in as far as like hybrid work and remote work. I thought it just made more sense to go with the step-down version of the abatement than the full 100%.
Okay.
So.
That answer your question, Councilman Plowman?
Sure does.
Okay, additional comments or questions? Councilmember Osmus.
Okay, you keep referring to the 133,000. I'm not seeing that on the car report. Or am I missing it?
I think we got the wrong one.
Sarah, did you do the presentation to the county?
Yeah.
So the 133,000, what are we talking about there?
So 133,000 would be, so the amount of, that's $13,000 a year over the 10 years that would go to the city in taxes. And so I guess this isn't really the presentation like the Midwest and their finances. This is just my recommendation. So that presentation that was made before the county will be made in front of the city, and that would be at the public hearing. And so if you guys do approve this recommendation, then that will be made at the public hearing.
But my understanding is the county did a step down, so they started at X and then stepped it down over
Yep.
time period, correct?
Yep. So the first 4 years would be 100%. Year 5 through 7 would be 70%. Year 8 through 10 would be 40%.
Okay. Is that all?
Yep, it's just that those figures he was throwing out weren't in the overview of what was being asked.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Valiant.
Yes, if you look under the budgetary fiscal issues, this is what Mr. Walker is talking about, to have the proposed tax abatement at 100% for 4 years, and then step it down like the county did for the 70% the next and 40% for the last 3 years. The dollars that'll be coming as part of the tax abatement too, will have all that presentation during the public hearing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So
I
we'll
was
have
under-
the presentation of the dollars and tax abatement dollars at that time.
Okay, yeah, I was understanding the step-down process that the county had implemented, but I wasn't seeing the dollar figure.
Right.
That'll be in a future presentation.
Yep,
You're
correct.
just giving us that information for our front-end knowledge.
Correct.
Okay.
Councilmember Davis.
So I'm curious, it says here that it create a minimum of 175 full-time workers. Is that above what's already there working?
Yes. So currently they have right around like 600 full-time employees. I think they have just over 800, including their part-time employees. And so this would be in excess to their existing jobs. And part of the tax abatement and business subsidy policy is that they cannot lay off anybody of their existing jobs. And so any turnover, I would have to be notified, and it would affect the abatement process, correct?
Okay, thank you.
But I think what I heard you say, I think I understood what you said, that some of these positions may be remote work, and they would not be considered part-time if there were remote work. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. So there can be positions that are full-time and are hybrid, and there can be positions that are full-time and remote. And so one of the things that I did ask for in this process was an overview of every employer on campus, their remote work policy. Did not get it, but I don't think it would be anything unique, I think, to what's kind of going on just kind of generally and around the country. I think more places are embracing hybrid work, and I think more places are embracing remote work as well. And so I think asking people, some jobs probably have like 100% full-time in person, but I think especially given with the tech industry and then just kind of like what's happening in that role, I think it's a little more common to have hybrid and remote work employees.
Councilmember Osk.
I'm slightly confused about what it is that you're looking from us tonight. The CAR report states that you're looking for us to approve the recommendation to start the application process, but did you state earlier that that's incorrect and that's already happened?
Yes. So, yeah. So just to refresh, so this tonight is to consider my recommendation, approve it, and then start the public hearing process and set the public hearing for the May 16th meeting.
Okay. And the recommendation specifically is that the step-down process, that's what you would like our feedback on tonight?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Kind of based on my findings and just kind of like going through the financials and everything that they presented.
Thank you.
And then I guess any questions, I guess, that pertains to like what is the criteria for the tax abatement, what is the evaluation criteria, and any things like that, I'd be happy to answer those questions as well.
Additional comments or questions? Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. So the information in the overview that we got, is that still accurate from what you're proposing?
Yes, so this speaks to, so this is like the past abatement. So Midwest Technology Campus has received abatements in the past. And so like I said earlier, they have far exceeded their abatement guarantees on jobs and things of that nature. What they are still having to work on is the capital investment. That thing is like $8 million that they have not satisfied yet.
I'm just going to make a recommendation that I'm going to make a motion to table this for further clarification for you to bring it back to us.
Is there a second on the motion to table? I think we need to table it. I'm not supposed to say anything, but I'm going to. I think we need more clarification. I see too many cloudy looks.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to table. All in favor of motion to table, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Councilmember Osk,
Nay.
Davis,
Nay.
Plowman,
Nay.
Nelson. Aye. Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Motion's tabled. 4-3.
Yes.
Okay, bring it back to the next meeting, so we can get some more clarification.
It's, oh,
Tabled.
okay.
Next, we have consideration of wastewater treatment plant lab technician job description changes and pay reclassification. Luann.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So you have before you a job description with some revisions that have been done. This position is out at the wastewater treatment plant for lab technician. They have 2 people that work in the lab area, and the job description has been updated to include the certification process that this person oversees and the training that has to go on for other staff. And so a wage study was completed to score that job, and the reclassification would move that up to a 1 step higher and would be a 4% increase for that person. So I'm just asking for that approval.
Okay, council, what are your wishes?
Move to approve the revised job description wage reclassification for the wastewater lab technician.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to consider the wastewater treatment plant lab technician job description changes and pay reclassification. Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion does carry. Thank you. Next, we have consideration of project number 2210, Highway 12 Lift Station Elimination Project. Mr. Vogie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you this evening has 3 resolutions associated with it. The first portion of that is that on March 16th, we received 6 bids for the Trunk Highway 12 Lift Station Elimination Project. That is the lift station located near Coca-Cola, and its approximate age is 50 years. The last pump upgrade was in approximately 2005. This lift station has been a large maintenance concern for our maintenance staff, Tom and Jason out at the wastewater plant. Weekly, they have staff tending to this lift station, and it is also at capacity, which means that the future growth within that drainage basin is inhibited. Nonetheless, March 16th, we received 6 bids. The low bid was in the amount of $2,664,319. And in your packets, you also have the high bid, which was in the amount of $4,312,566. That low bid was submitted by Tom's Backhoe Service. We have spoken with the contractor. We've checked references. We've actually worked with them before on projects. And the resolution before you this evening is recommending award following discussions with both wastewater staff, public works staff, as well as finance staff regarding the funding, which is the second item in your packets this evening. But that is the recommendation to award to Tom's Backhoe Service of Brainerd in the amount of $2,664,319. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the award project 22-10 to Tom's Backhoe for $2,664,319. Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jared, for the presentation. Just for curiosity's sake, what was the engineer's estimate on this project?
Yes, the engineer's estimate was approximately $900,000 below the low bid. And what we've, that's why bids were open on March 16th and they're not before you the following meeting subsequent to that. Based on conversations with the wastewater staff, they felt it was imperative that this project move forward. So in collaboration with finance department, wastewater staff, those funds associated with that financing, I shouldn't use the term financing, I should use the term funding, because to the best of my knowledge, it will not be bonded for. It's all to be paid out of the existing funds within the wastewater budget and the Wilmer Municipal Utilities component that is associated with it, because there will be some water main work done there. So that's why it took some additional analysis and review. As you can see by the bid results in your packets, it was a relatively tight bid with Tom's Backhoe Service coming in lower than the tightest grouping, if you will. And yeah, ultimately, I think one of the contributing factors to the engineer's estimate being off ultimately was the nature of the project. When we spoke with the contractors, some of them put in a risk factor, if you will, which is common in construction. It's deep, it's wet, the soils are not good, and as a result, the prices reflected that. So that was one of the things that we did look at, though, during the bid analysis portion, was that tight grouping of bids. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but you are correct. The engineer's estimate was approximately $900,000 less than low bid.
Okay, may I follow up with one more?
Yes.
Is it to the general consensus of your firm or maybe the engineering community, and I suppose you consult with the wastewater department as well as the utilities, is it the general consensus as of now for the foreseeable future that this is what we're going to see in terms of construction? There's going to be this kind of gray area where contractors are factoring in their risk, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's multifaceted, honestly. Based on the conversations I've had with contractors, and I was before you at the last meeting, and we got very favorable bids on street projects. Those street projects are much more straightforward than this project. They're not nearly as deep. The pipe sizes aren't nearly as large. And quite frankly, everybody I talk to tells me how much work is out there right now. And with the supply chain issues that everybody's running into, not being able to get materials, contractors ultimately are doing the less intense projects. One contractor I've talked to recently said, we've got all this development work that we can go chase, and that's through cornfields. Why do we want to worry about communicating with residents and avoiding utilities when we can dig in a wide open field? So couple factors: supply chain, the amount of work out there, and complexity. In addition, I think we're all aware of inflation and the pricing that we're starting to see on some of these projects. So ultimately, I'm convinced that the prices will only continue to increase over the course of this year. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Additional comments or questions? Okay, I think we're ready to vote to award project 22-10 to Tom's Backhoe for $2,664,319. Roll call.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next is to adopt the as-is budget for the same project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson. Aye. Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Next is to adopt an amendment number 1 to professional services agreement with Bolton and Mink for $266,400. Jared?
Yeah, so the final item in your packets this evening is an amendment to the original agreement that was established for the project. That agreement identified design services only because at the time that was awarded, that was what was identified in the project CIP. So with the design services being fulfilled for the project, a proposal was put together for the construction, observation, inspection, staking, as-built services for the project, and that's what's in your packets this evening.
Okay, Council, what are your wishes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve amendment number 1 to professional services agreement with Bolton and Mink for $266,400. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson. Aye. Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next is the acceptance of project number 20-01B, the 20-01B 2020 street reconstruction project, and authorize final payment to Riley Brothers Construction in the amount of $20,655.77. Mr. Vogel.
Mayor and Council, the item before you this evening is to accept the project and proceed with the final payment. Staff has reviewed the project. All items, punch list items have been addressed. And one item that I will note is that the project with this final payment would be approximately $61,000 below the as-bid budget for the project. So with that, we have a recommendation to accept the project and provide final payment in the amount of $20,655.77 to Riley Brothers Construction.
Council, what are your wishes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the final payment to Riley Brothers Construction in the amount of $20,655.77. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Next is, I want to go back to the item number 11, which was our item number 12. And I would like council to consider having staff bring back at the next meeting a follow-up of this presentation in more clarity, and then also include at that same meeting the same information they were going to present at that meeting, so that we have everything back on track. Is there anybody that agrees with that?
Do you want a motion?
I would entertain a motion to do that. Can we do that, Mr. Scott? Because this was informational, is what we were told. So bring back that information in a more clear fashion, along with the recommended actions to put the project back on schedule.
Yes, you can. The As I understood, the request to council was also to set a public hearing. That hearing would have been set for, if I heard right, May 16th. And I think if the resolution or this matter comes back as you described at your next meeting, I would have to look at the statutory timeline. I'm not sure you're going to make May 16th for the public hearing.
It's only 10 days.
10 days?
Yeah, it's only 10 days. So like we built in the contingency anyway.
Okay.
16th is fine.
Then absolutely a motion would be appropriate, as you described.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carries. Next, we have consideration of the reallocating capital improvement funds for the Civic Center roof project and acceptance of change order number 16 with Marcus Construction. Mr. Baumgart, our city park and rec director.
There you go.
We have all these names. Maybe we should just call you PRD.
I'm good with that. So, Mayor, member of the council, tonight, the motion before you will be to adopt a resolution to reallocate $254,311.50 from the Blue Line installation project to the Civic Center roof project and approve change order number 16 for the Civic Center roof improvements in the amount of $360,587. Basically, what we have gotten to this point here is when we started construction on the event center, LSE was in to come in and do a structural analysis of our existing structure. They realized that the structure, the 1981 roof project, is not functionally sound enough for us, so we had to do improvements to that roof area. So what's happening, that LSE was able to put a construction bulletin out and work with Marcus Construction to prepare this change order. Marcus was able to go get bids and use some of the existing contractors that are on this project. And that's where we come up where we're at today, that the bids came in and this is what the price is to fix the roof. One thing I would like to point out too is we could do some alternates here. They're not staff recommendations or Marcus recommendations to increase the HVAC system for $51,000. I think it was talking to Marcus and the chapel, this HVAC system was over-designed for the system that we currently have. It's probably the Taj Mahal type of system, and we won't need that. So it's our recommendation not to do alternate one. And what the alternate two was for some installation, and that is a backlog right now, is in for all installation projects. And Marcus was able to find a substitute for that, so we don't recommend to do that as well. And then what you'll see as far as the budgetary, as far as with the $360,000, that includes a 10% construction contingency on Marcus's part. They suggest us to hold a 10% contingency as well, because when you're going into a existing building, there might be some issues that may come out that the owners are going to have to work it out, and then we will have some special inspection costs with it. While doing this project now with the event center, it is going to save the city some cost. For an example, one of the structural footings is in one of the bathrooms that is going to be redone. So some of it is that, do you fix the bathroom all up and then come back later and destroy the bathroom and then have to refix it? So that's why it's the recommendation of LSE and Marcus to do the project right now. Something else too is that this project will be funded by the capital projects and will have its own pay application separate from the event center project. So we'll keep that all separate.
Council, what are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution to reallocate $254,311.50 from the Blue Line Arena installation project to the Civic Center roof project and approve change order number 16 for the Civic Center roof improvements in the amount of $360,587.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien. Aye. Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next is consideration of an agreement with Mid-State Audio for the Events and Recreation Center sound system. Mr. Baumgart.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, again, it's going to be a recommendation to the City Council of Wilmer to adopt a resolution approving the agreement with Mid-State Audio for the event Recreation Center sound system for the amount of $38,000, $17.17. The reason why this is coming before you right now is just because of the lead time of getting sound equipment in. It's taken 5 to 7 months to get sound equipment in. If we do it now, the hope is to have it ready to go when the event center gets finished in September. Also, this system is the same exact system that we are using currently in the Cardinal Arena and the Blue Line, so we'll be able to share the same iPad system, so all the technology and everything is on one system to work with.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve an agreement with Mid-State Audio for the Event Recreation Center sound system in the amount of $38,017.17. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Next, we have consideration of an award for recreation field fence project to American Fence in the amount of $108,800 and adopt the project budget for $119,680. Mr. Baumgarten.
Yep, this is going to be another resolution for Invest in Wilmer projects for the rec fields, to adopt a resolution awarding the recreation field project to American Fence Company in the amount of $108,800 and adopt the project budget in the amount of $119,680. If you look at your diagram and the charts below, you'll kind of see how options A, B, C, and D all came out. A lot of this was going to be either a 6-foot fence, 8-foot fence, a bottom rail, or a non-bottom rail. The bottom rail is something that is something that should happen. It's going to keep this fence a lot stronger. If you've ever seen fence pops up, it's because they have that tension wire. Once that snaps, it starts to curl. So it is a recommendation to go with the bottom rail. And then you'll see we had 3 vendors that came out and looked at the project. They gave their prices on all 4 different type of options. American Fence was the lowest bid of them all. I did put a 10% contingency in there just to be safe. And then if you look at the diagram that we drew out, that's how the 32,000 feet would come about. And I've talked to the senior high athletic director about the area that is considered kind of school land. He's 100% content with that area as well. And right now it does save of dismantling any of the trail, so that will still be in place as of right now until if other future projects do happen out there. We took the west fence to the close to the trail as well, so we can utilize that green space for other programming activities as well.
Okay, Council, what are your wishes?
Make a motion to adopt a resolution awarding the recreation field fence project to American Fence Company in the amount of $108,800 and adopt the project budget in the amount of $119,680.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
The resolution passes. Next is recognition of donations for the first quarter of 2022. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the city has received donations from various people and organizations throughout the community in the first quarter of 2022. These donations consist of $1,000 from Carrie Van Epps for the Aging Wisely program at the Wilmer Area Community Center, $100 from Bruce Taylor for the Checkmate Chess Club at the Wilmer Area Community Center, $1,000 for the Wilmer Firefighters Association from the Wilmer Fire Department, $200 from Rita James for body armor for the Wilmer Police Department, and $3,500 from the 100 Yard Club for portable scoreboard.
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution approving and acknowledging the donations for the first quarter of 2022.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Next is consideration of election of standard allowance for the American Rescue Plan dollars. Ms. Valiant.
Good evening, council. And this resolution is to elect the standard allowance under the revenue provision option of the American Rescue Plan Act. It allows us to adopt that the $2+ million that the city is getting over the next 2 years to use it as under revenue loss, and up to $10 million is what the allowance is under the federal guidelines. And this just gives us more flexibility in the use of those dollars and as far as the expenses, so that we don't have to have a real rigid accounting. We will have an accounting of it, but it allows us to have flexibility in the use of that.
Okay. So this is allowing us to use our American Rescue Plan
Yes.
dollars in accordance with staff's recommendation and
Yes.
council approval.
We have, our first report is due at the end of the month here, and part of that, you have to make your first, you have to elect which way you're going to account for your revenue loss. And this allows us to just say that we're taking the whole $2.1 million as revenue loss, instead of having to do a whole calculation as to the revenue loss. Otherwise, it's a very complicated calculation. But under the final ruling that came out in February, under the American ARPA funds, they've allowed that the cities can take up to $10 million under lost revenue, and, or in our case, it would be our total allocation that we will be receiving. Right, so far, we've received about $1 million. We expect our second half to be here in July. And then the final part, which is about $36,000, we'll be receiving in October.
Okay. Council, what are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to introduce a resolution to elect the standard allowance under the revenue loss provision option for the American Rescue Plan Act dollars.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Councilmember Nelson.
So this ruling just came out a couple months ago. Is this what most cities are doing?
Yes, the cities get to choose up to 10. They're allowed up to whatever they have received for their ARPA funds, up to $10 million. And that final ruling came out in February. So most of the cities are allowing this, because in this way it gives them more flexibility what they can use those funds for. One of those flexibilities is that you can then use the funds for city facilities if you wanted to.
Okay, so we'll
You don't
still
have-
be reviewing what we're going to do.
Right, this is just the first step.
satisfying
Because we
the
have, yeah, we have to,
requirements.
we'll have to report what we use those funds are, but this is just, we're just saying that the revenue that we were taking in, we're saying that is for total loss revenue, and then when we expend those funds, we have to report what those funds have been expended on.
Okay, thank you.
Additional comments or questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Council have any community pride
I
announcements?
have one thing. I just want to remind the council also that to make sure you give me comment tonight on the process that we followed for our interviewees. And thank you very much for your time this afternoon, too.
And then tentatively, we have a city council meeting scheduled for noon on Friday of this week.
Correct.
Okay, special city council meeting
At the City Hall.
at City Hall. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned.
So just to let you guys know, this was my last council meeting.